Happy New Year, everyone. It's 2025, and we are kicking things off with a deep dive into some fascinating stories from Southern California's Observer Group newspapers.
Yeah, we got a great mix this time around.
We've got sports, we've got politics, we've even got an obituary that looks back at a truly impactful life.
A real snapshot of life here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump right in. First up, some big news from the football field. Both the Rams and the Chargers clinched playoff spots.
You watching those games?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It's interesting how each team got there. Talk about different paths to success.
Totally.
The Rams, they had everyone on the edge of their seats against the Cardinals,
Oh, yeah, that was a close one.
squeaking out a 13-9 win.
Yeah, their defense was a brick wall.
Oh, absolutely.
But,
yeah.
their offense has been struggling to find the end zone these last few weeks.
It makes you wonder, can you really win it all in today's NFL if you're only playing half the game?
Right, and then you've got the Chargers totally flipping the script after a disappointing 2023 season. Remember all that talk about a rebuilding year?
Oh, yeah. They crushed the Patriots 40-7.
Yeah, brand new coach, a revamped roster. I mean, even folks who follow the Chargers closely were surprised by that one.
Yeah. Jim Harbaugh is proving that he can coach at any level.
Absolutely.
And the new players, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards rookies, Joe Alt, and Ladd McConkey, they're already making a huge impact.
Yeah, it's almost like he unlocked some hidden potential in these guys.
And of course, Justin Herbert continues to impress. It's not just about wins with him. It's that incredible touchdown to interception ratio that has everyone buzzing.
Oh, yeah.
Reminds me of some of the all-time greats.
Definitely. But don't forget, they could be facing some tough opponents in the wild card weekend.
Oh, for sure.
The Chiefs, the Bills. I mean, it's going to be a real challenge.
Speaking of challenges, can we talk about Saquon Barkley for a second? He's having a record-breaking season.
It's unbelievable.
He's on track to potentially surpass Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record.
It's incredible to see him back in top form after those injuries a couple of years ago. Yeah, and he needs just over 100 yards in the final game to break that record. Talk about a nail-biting finish to the regular season.
For sure.
While these guys are making history on the field, some Californians are fighting for progress off the field in the world of politics. We've got some insightful interviews to dive into, voices reflecting on 2024 and the year ahead.
Yeah, two really interesting perspectives here. Shea Franco-Clausen, who's the political director of Equality California, and Jay King, CEO of the California Black Chamber of Commerce, both doing some really important work.
Shea Franco-Clausen is a powerhouse advocate for LGBTQ+ rights. One of her big wins was overturning Proposition 8 here in California, which had banned same-sex marriage.
That was a huge victory, especially considering the ongoing debate about same-sex marriage at the federal level.
Yeah.
Prop 8, by the way, was a ballot initiative that amended the California Constitution to define marriage as between one man and one woman.
Right. Good point. Not everyone's going to be up on the details of California ballot proposition.
Right.
But Shea is focused on more than just legal victories. She's concerned about representation for marginalized communities. And she's been vocal about the lack of support for Black Californians, even within the LGBTQ+ community.
Yeah, it raises some crucial questions about inclusivity and how we measure progress. It's not enough to just achieve equality for some.
Yeah.
You need to make sure it extends to everyone.
Her take on 2025 is all about being fearless, which is pretty inspiring. She's got a lot on her plate, writing a book and running for Hayward City Council.
Wow, she's someone who leads by example, that's for sure.
Now let's switch gears to Jay King. He leads the California Black Chamber of Commerce, an organization dedicated to empowering Black-owned businesses.
Yeah, he's particularly passionate about supporting those smaller businesses, what are sometimes called micro and mini businesses,
Right.
which often face unique challenges.
And he's been a tireless advocate for legislation that mandates government contracting opportunities for these smaller businesses. In fact, that was one of his proudest achievements this year.
Two pieces of legislation, specifically AB 1574 and AB 2019, that have the potential to really level the playing field.
He's not shying away from the difficulties either. He talks about the lack of access to capital for Black businesses and the need for culturally relevant support. Things like mentorship programs, training that takes into account their specific needs, that kind of thing.
He makes a great point. It's not just about opening doors. It's about making sure those businesses have the tools to succeed once they're in the room.
His biggest takeaway for 2025, making sure those businesses are ready for the opportunities coming their way. And he believes in the power of self-belief for Black Californians.
Yeah.
That's a powerful message.
It's about fostering a sense of possibility, encouraging people to dream big and not be afraid to take risks.
His goal for 2025 is to change the trajectory of micro and mini businesses, especially Black-owned ones.
Ambitious, but achievable with the right support.
Before we move on, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What stood out to you from those interviews?
I think what struck me was the resilience and determination of both of these leaders.
Yeah.
They're not just talking about problems, they're actively working to create solutions. It's inspiring.
Absolutely. Okay, we've covered some exciting wins on the field and inspiring stories from the world of politics, but our deep dive isn't over yet. We have one more story to explore, and it's a bit more somber. We'll be remembering the legacy of a former president whose impact went far beyond his time in office. Stay with us. This last story, it takes us from the excitement of sports and the complexities of politics to a reflection on a life that touched so many.
Yeah, it's the passing of former President Jimmy Carter.
A man who truly left his mark on history.
At 100 years old.
He passed away at 100 years old. Can you imagine the changes he witnessed in his lifetime?
Oh my gosh.
From the Great Depression to the digital age, he saw it all.
And through it all, he never stopped trying to make the world a better place.
Right. His presidency, which ran from 1977 to 1981, was definitely a mixed bag.
Some major achievements, but some real challenges too.
Yeah. Let's start with the highlights. Okay.
The Camp David Accords were a huge diplomatic victory, bringing peace between Egypt and Israel, two countries that had been at war for decades.
Yeah, a testament to his commitment to diplomacy and his ability to bring people together, even when the odds seemed stacked against him.
Right. He was also a strong advocate for human rights on a global stage, something that wasn't always popular at the time.
Right. And let's not forget his focus on environmental conservation.
Oh, yeah.
Those solar panels he installed on the White House?
Way ahead of his time.
That was way ahead of its time.
Ahead of the curve on so many issues.
Right.
But he also faced some tough times during his presidency.
Oh, yeah, of course.
The Iranian hostage crisis was a major blow, a real test of his leadership and his ability to navigate international crises.
And the economy was struggling throughout much of his term.
Was struggling throughout much of his term?
Yeah.
That's something people tend to remember even if they don't recall the specifics.
Yeah, it's interesting. Historians still debate his presidency to this day.
Some see him as misunderstood, a visionary who was perhaps a bit too idealistic for his time.
Right, and others point to his moral courage.
Right.
His willingness to tackle tough issues, even if it meant making unpopular decisions.
I think what's clear is that he was a man of principle.
Yeah.
Someone who truly believed in public service and was willing to fight for what he thought was right.
I think what really stands out to me is his post-presidency work.
Oh, yeah.
He really redefined the role of a former president.
Yeah. He didn't retire to a life of leisure. Instead, he doubled down on his commitment to making the world a better place.
The Carter Center, which he founded with his wife Rosalind, has had a huge impact globally.
Yeah, promoting democracy, monitoring elections, fighting diseases like guinea worm.
They've tackled some of the world's toughest problems.
They've tackled some of the world's toughest problems.
And his work with Habitat for Humanity, building homes alongside volunteers.
It shows his humility.
Shows his humility and his belief in the power of hands-on service.
And he wasn't afraid to roll up his sleeves and get to work.
He received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002. A well-deserved recognition of his lifelong commitment to peace and justice.
It's a reminder that leadership isn't about holding a title. It's about using your influence to make a positive impact.
His life story is incredibly inspiring. But even he wasn't without controversy. His book, Palestine, Peace Not Apartheid, generated a lot of debate.
He wasn't afraid to speak his mind, even when it meant challenging conventional wisdom.
It's a reminder that even those we admire can hold views that we may disagree with.
Yeah, the important thing is to engage with those differing viewpoints thoughtfully and respectfully.
Ultimately, Jimmy Carter's life was a testament to the power of service compassion and a commitment to making a difference. He chose to live a modest life in Plains, Georgia, despite his achievements, always focused on giving back.
It's a powerful example of how one person can truly make a difference in the world.
So we've journeyed from thrilling sports victories to inspiring stories of political activism, and now we've reflected on the legacy of a truly remarkable figure. It's been quite a deep dive.
We've covered a lot of ground, that's for sure. But I think there's a common thread that runs through all these stories.
Oh, I'm intrigued. What do you see connecting a nail-biting Rams victory reflections on the year in politics and the passing of a former president?
It's the idea of legacy. Each of these stories in its own way, prompts us to consider the mark we leave on the world,
Okay.
both big and small.
I like that.
Okay.
Let's break it down. How does that apply to, say, the Rams and Chargers? They're focused on winning games, not exactly building monuments.
True, but think about it. Their performance this season adds to the larger story of their respective franchises. The Rams, even with their offensive struggles, are building on their recent Super Bowl victory. They're creating a legacy of defensive dominance.
And the Chargers, with their surprising turnaround, are showing that it's possible to defy expectations and rewrite the narrative.
They're building a legacy of resilience and innovation.
And for players like Saquon Barkley chasing historic records,
Yeah.
it's about etching their names in the history books, becoming part of the larger story of the NFL. I see your point. But how does legacy connect to the political figures in Jimmy Carter's life? Their work is on a different scale altogether.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But Shea Franco Clausen and Jay King, through their advocacy and leadership, are shaping the future of their communities. They're fighting for equality, for opportunity. Their work will have ripple effects for years to come.
They're not just focused on the present, they're laying the groundwork for a more just and equitable future. That's their legacy.
Exactly. And then we have Jimmy Carter, a man who dedicated his life to service both during and after his presidency.
Right.
His legacy is one of peacemaking, humanitarian aid, and unwavering commitment to human dignity.
It's a powerful reminder that true leadership extends far beyond holding a particular office.
Absolutely.
It's about using your platform to make a positive impact on the world.
And that impact can take many forms, from brokering international peace agreements to building homes with your own two hands.
Right.
It's about identifying your strengths and using them to make a difference.
So what does this all mean for us, the listeners, as we embark on a new year? It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the big picture, legacies, history, all of that.
It can be daunting for sure.
Mm.
But I think the key takeaway is this. We all have the potential to create a legacy no matter how big or small.
You don't have to be a president or a pro athlete to make a difference.
Exactly. Maybe it's about mentoring a young person, volunteering in your community, or simply being a kind and supportive friend or family member.
Right.
It's about those small acts of kindness that can ripple outwards and have a lasting impact.
Or maybe it's about pursuing a bold idea, starting a business, writing a book, taking a chance on something you believe in.
The point is, we all have unique talents and experiences that we can use to make the world a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's about identifying those strengths and finding ways to share them with the world.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? That's a question I'm going to be asking myself as we head into this new year.
And who knows? Maybe someday someone will be deep diving into our stories, inspired by the choices we made and the lives we touched. Now, wouldn't that be something?
Well, that's a thought-provoking note to end our deep dive on. Thanks for joining us on this journey of exploration and reflection. What are some key takeaways that stood out to you today?
Yeah, it really is amazing to think about all the different ways, people are leaving their mark on the world. Right here in Southern California and beyond, we've got those football players, battling it out on the field. We've got those activists fighting for equality. And we even had a former president using his platform to champion human rights and global peace.
And it really drives home the point that legacy isn't just about these grand gestures or historical milestones. It's also about those everyday choices we make, the values we live by, and the impact we have on those around us.
Right. It's a good reminder as we start a new year, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
We don't have to wait for some big opportunity to make a difference.
No.
We can just start by asking ourselves, what kind of impact do I want to have on the world?
Exactly. Maybe it's something as simple as being a good friend, supporting local businesses, or, volunteering our time for a cause we care about.
Even those small acts of kindness and generosity can create ripples that extend far beyond our immediate circle.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key takeaways that stood out to you today? For me, it's that reminder that we all have the power to make a difference, regardless of, our background or our position in life.
I think that's a powerful message to carry with us as we navigate the year ahead. It's about finding our own unique way to contribute to the world, whether it's through our work, our passions, or simply our interactions with others.
And who knows, maybe someday someone will look back on our lives and find inspiration in the choices we made and the impact we had.
That's a legacy worth striving for.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon with more fascinating stories and insightful discussions. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep making your mark on the world.